Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us at the Ganas podcast. As we're here once again to talk with, honestly, like one of my best friends, and just see now it sounds fake, right? It's like you actually know my real voice.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but
that's
nobody
what
else is gonna know your real
exactly.
voice.
Yeah, that could
so-
be me forever. But now I'm
Yeah.
kind of ruining now, or this could be my fake voice. So
I think I like the other one better.
yeah, thank you. It's like a used car salesman,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know. It is like I don't know. I forgot what we're talking about, but yeah. So I haven't done an intro, so I haven't done this. This is my first guest. You're my first guest, but so yeah, thank you so much. Welcome to the Con Ganas podcast. Con Ganas podcast, where we talk about what gives you what gives you the desire and fire to be where you are right now, and just talk about what keeps you going in the morning and night, every time, weekends, because you work all the time, and I know that firsthand. And just yeah, and talk about how you got here, and it's been a long road, right? I guess like you wanted to do this for a long time, and now you're getting close to the next step, which is very exciting. Very exciting. I'm glad that I am your peer in this, and that we could all experience this together. And it's been a great time. Yeah, no, honestly, I did not think I'd be having that much fun and just grow as much as I have in med school. So yeah, and you're a big part of that. And I thank you so much for that, Ofelia. But yeah, so let me introduce who I'm talking to, so it's not I'm just talking to myself. Thank you so much once again, Ofelia, Negrete, Vasquez, for coming with us and joining me on the Con Ganas podcast. I am your host, Robert Trevino, and yeah, so if you want to start, just introduce yourself a little bit. Again, I don't know what this podcast is. It could be a joke podcast, but
Or it could blow up one day, and we could be listening to each other later on.
yeah, that's wild. Hello, Ophelia's mom. Hello, my mother. And hello, former President Barack Obama. That's pretty much who I'm talking to
Wow,
right now.
he has really inspired.
He
you,
listens a
huh?
lot. Yeah, he told me. I mean, he just said he's gonna check it out.
Interesting.
I'm like, yeah, just on the low. He
Oh
didn't
yeah, I'm sure he will, and
Yeah.
hopefully Michelle Obama will be listening to me one day.
Yeah, her
you know?
podcast is great.
Her
like I was saying.
podcast is great.
You finished
and
it, all of them, all the
yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the marriage one just because I don't know. Like,
Well, she gives more than just marriage. Like,
no, I mean I've seen the OBGYN one,
Yeah.
and I saw like I told you I saw some of the Obama ones, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know, it's good. So just emulate that,
Okay.
emulate that. That
Yeah,
strong, powerful
let
woman that you
me,
are.
Like, bring out my inner Michelle Obama. You know?
It's like right under the surface, I swear. But okay, yeah, I'll stop talking. If you just want to do a quick intro.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my name's Ofelia Negrete Vasquez. I was born in Austin, Texas. My parents are from Guanajuato, Mexico, and honestly, just I'm a huge, proud Mexican. I know that's like through years, like I've had to like just figure that out, part of me, because sometimes saying like you're Mexican, people are like, well, were you born in Mexico? And it's like, well, I wasn't, but my whole culture is like everything in me is like really, really Mexican. But I also recognize what a privilege it is to say I was born in the United States, and I'm also an American, so I'm a Mexican American, you know. So growing up, just like my family's completely divided in a way. Like my parents are undocumented, my brothers have DACA, my sister and I are the only ones that were born here. So it was just like a parallel all the time of like, you get privileges, but your brothers don't get privileges. Like you get an education kind of guaranteed, and they don't. They have to like just like work like so much harder than you to just get what you're already basically guaranteed as being part of like a citizen here, you know. So
Yeah,
like,
I mean just for being.
yeah, so just for like being born
Okay, yeah,
on
no,
this side
yeah.
of the like I don't know, just like borders, like
Yeah.
you get all these privileges, and they just never had that.
Okay, well,
So-
okay, so I mean, I learned more about you right now. Like, that was more than I knew already, and I felt like I've talked to you for long in the last year.
Yeah.
But just before we go into that, like, why are you here? Like,
Mhm.
how did we meet? As far as your second year,
Yeah, so second year medical student.
I don't know if you want to say the school, just in case. They are either gonna be all over it if this comes out good. If they hate it, they're gonna be like, take that down, never mention us.
Yeah,
So,
they'd be like, take the
yeah,
logo out.
so,
Don't affiliate us with y'all at all.
Yeah, which I
But
get.
I think eventually, when this comes out, we're gonna be successful doctors, and they're gonna want to have their name on it.
That's wild. I was
but
gonna post this
let's-
like next week. So, and
Let's just say we go to a top tier medical center here in Texas. whichever one you want to think of.
Yeah, we lived in
that's
Texas.
where we go.
Yeah, we live in Texas. That's a good, like, you already said Austin. You haven't moved far, but
Yeah,
you're
it's
okay.
like we're Texans.
But yeah, so we're both second-year med students, and we're about to
Mhm.
take. We have like a couple more months before we go into clinicals and finishing up our last preclinical clerkship tests. And yeah, so but going into that, Ofelia, you're Mexican American, so you were born here, and then when did your family come though? Like your mother and father?
So my dad actually came in like 1992, I believe, and then my mom joined him later on in like 1995.
Okay, so it's been a minute. Yeah, it was before I
Yeah.
was born. So
Yeah,
it was a
it's
thing.
been a while. My
And-
dad kind of left when my two brothers, one of them was like 9 months old, and then my mom was like about, I think she was pregnant with my other brother.
They all
So-
came together? Like your brothers came with them, or?
So my brothers came with my mom.
Okay.
But my dad like left first, and then they like joined later on, and then like a year in, once my mom was like reunited with my dad, they had me, and I was like, cool.
Celebrate? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, they were
cool,
like
cool.
celebrating that they were together, and that's how
That's dope.
that's how that happened.
And then you guys have stayed in Austin for the entire time?
Yeah, so we were in Austin, and then everything just kind of started getting really dangerous. Like, I remember, I guess it was like 3 or 4 weeks after my mom got like her purse robbed at gunpoint, and I was there. My dad was like,
Whoa,
I'm
wild.
out.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like, I'm completely out. Like, let's start looking for just like a different place because this is no longer safe for the kids. So we ended up moving to Kyle, Texas, which was in the middle of nowhere, and the schools weren't great. Nobody wanted me in their school because I only knew Spanish. Like, nobody.
Oh, still then?
Yeah.
When did you guys move?
We moved when I was 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I only knew Spanish, and nobody wanted to like take on the task of like teaching somebody English, and I guess they just kind of like assumed I was dumb.
Yeah,
Because
no,
I
I've heard
didn't
that a
know,
lot. Yeah.
You know.
Were you in
Yeah.
like ESL classes or stuff, or?
Well, at the
Oh,
beginning.
hold on, let me.
My beautiful face.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so at the beginning they didn't have the program. They didn't even have ESL.
Mm-hmm.
So they just kind of stuck me into they called it like a merging English program. But basically the teacher was like, no speaking Spanish. All you're going to do is speak English. And I was like, yo no. I don't understand.
Was it
know?
just you, or was there a couple other? Because I mean, I guess Southern Texas, I would.
Yeah, so it was mostly, I was the only one who didn't know English. There was other kids that knew both languages, but she wouldn't allow them to speak to me in Spanish.
That's
so
wild.
I was just like completely lost. I remember crying a lot, even when I was like at home, and I was like, I don't understand, Mom. Like, help me. And my brothers were very much like, we figured it out. Like, you need to figure it out too. Attitude.
Well, how much older are they than you?
So one of them's 4 years older, and then the other one's 5 years older.
Okay, and they're close. Or I guess you're close to them as well, but
Yeah.
like okay, yeah, no, that's wild. I could see like if like that's definitely hard just coming and like learning a new language, but also like being 6 and being in that. Oh God, no, I can't.
Yeah,
Like,
and she's like, you better learn, and I'm like,
so that's how you did. You just eventually learned because your family doesn't speak to you in English at all, or they sometimes.
My parents don't speak English at all. To this day, they don't.
Yeah.
So I would go home, and my mom had like books for me to try to read in English, and I mean, she couldn't help me. My brothers were like refusing to kind of help. So I was just kind of like trying to work it out, you know? And then eventually over the summer, they put me in like summer school, and the teacher there was like, you're very smart. They ended up putting me in summer school for Spanish speakers. So obviously, like, I knew my stuff in Spanish. Like, I was a good kid, you know?
What grade was this? Like
this
third grade?
No, this was in first grade.
First grade, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and the teacher was like, I don't understand why you're here. And I was like, yeah, neither do I. But eventually they found an ESL program, and I learned like how to navigate English really fast. And by third grade, I was like speaking English and in like full English classes.
So did you like school? Like, I feel that would have been traumatic enough to all just given up. Like, I would have called it. Like, I have tried speaking Spanish. Like, I only speak English because when we moved, I moved to Illinois, and they didn't, like, you know that. They don't speak Spanish. But, and I've been trying to learn, like, off and on for, like, 20 years. And that, is no, I can't even imagine being 6 and I'll give up. That's what I'm saying. Like as
Yeah.
far as school and stuff like that. But did you like it already? Like
I
what?
loved school, like from the beginning, and even to this day, sometimes like with the stress of like medical school and everything, I'm like, why did I do this? Like, this is so hard. But I mean, we're in quarantine right now, and even in quarantine, I was excited. Like, the first day of school, I couldn't sleep. I was so like jittery and
It's
just
wild.
like
Yeah,
excited to like start. And I was
Couldn't be
like,
me.
the other side of me was like, why are you so excited? You're gonna wake up, sit in your room, and study, and that's all you're gonna do. You're not
Yeah.
even going to school. But there I was, like at 7 a.m., getting my clothes ready. I was like, yes.
That's so fun.
And
Yeah,
that's when I
it's
realized
so
I
fun.
still have that like child spirit of like loving school and education and everything it means.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's the dream. I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think this was my last year for it. Last year I took pictures of like my first day off and stuff, but yeah,
Mhm.
no, this is
Oh,
this
yeah.
thing. But yeah, no, that's awesome. But do you know why? Like, do your parents push for it as a kid, or like was it just something you enjoyed? You had good friends, or just you're born with this? You're born different.
I don't know. I guess, yeah, maybe like struggling at the beginning and realizing how hard it was, and kind of like an accomplishment to even learn English and then be good at it, you know?
hmm
And it's like
Well,
people were always telling me, like, oh, like, you're smart, you can do so much. And at the beginning, I was like, am I? Like, it took me so long to get like English down, you know?
mhm.
So just like navigating through it, and I mean, up to a certain point, my parents could never help me. My dad, I remember him helping me with math because he was like really good with math, and I mean the numbers are universal, you know, like they don't have a language to them. So he was always like helping me with that, and I learned to really like math like for a really long time. But everything else was kind of like on my own, and it was something that I was always proud of because my parents couldn't do it. So it was like kind of like something new that I was bringing to the family and that we were all doing.
hmm
But I mean, I have great examples. My brothers all went to college and they set a good example for me too.
hmm so like when you mentioned earlier, as far as your brothers and your parents not having the same privileges just because they weren't born here,
Hmm.
did you already feel that, I guess, not burden, but almost like that drive to like you want to take what you had, or did you know what you had at that time? I guess like being an American citizen.
I don't think I realized it until I was 12, and that's when like my mom was leaving actually to my grandma was passing away, and my mom got the call and I was in band, and I remember coming home because I had just gotten selected to be like first chair for the baritones. Yes, I played the
Okay, yeah.
baritone.
So just to paint, because we didn't videotape this one, but Ofelia is like, I don't know, 3'3". How tall are you?
I'm 5'2".
And like
5'2".
maybe 50 pounds. Like you're very
Mhm.
small. No, I'm just
Yeah.
joking, but you're very small. But yeah,
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome. I played trumpet, so a little brass buddy type thing. Yeah. Okay, so you're 12,
Mhm.
baritone in band, and then
Yeah.
they called you in school, or what happened?
No, I come home, and I'm like very excited, like
Mhm.
there with my baritone, big ass baritone, you know, coming off of the bus, and my mom's just like greeting me, and she's like crying, and it's weird because like up to that point, I have never seen my mom cry,
Mhm.
like ever. Like my mom is like one of the most like strong, like women that I know, like great example, you know. So she's crying, and I'm like, what's wrong? Like absolutely, like what is like wrong, what's going on? Like I knew something was just off. She's like, well, Mika, like your grandma's sick, like I need to go see her. I haven't seen her in like 17 years, like I need to go see her. And I was like, okay, cool, like you can go to Mexico and come back. She was like, no, like you don't understand, like if I go to Mexico, like yeah, like I'm gonna try to come back, but I don't know if I can.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like when everything kind of, I won't say it fell apart, but it
Got
fell
real.
apart for a while,
Mhm.
you know? Because it was hard after that, just like watching her leave and watching my dad for a while go
Sure.
through like depression. And he would like come home, and I was like, I'm trying to cook for you. Like, I'm a 12-year-old trying to cook for you, and he's not even trying to eat it. He's just like eating lettuce. And I'm like, that doesn't make me feel better.
Mhm.
You know, that doesn't make me feel like I'm contributing to anything. But I mean, luckily I had my brother, David. He's great, like 4 years older, but we just did everything together. We would try to cook, we cleaned, we did everything for the house, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
we got really close, and we're still very close. He's like a second dad to me sometimes because honestly, during that time, he was my dad.
Mm-hmm.
My dad wasn't like mentally there to like help me get through it, and David was. And then my oldest brother, I mean, he was dealing with it on his own too. Like he was just like very stressed, but sometimes to the point where he wasn't helping the family.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he was refusing to like cut his hair, refusing to go to school, and was like, "You're making it harder on us. Like you're becoming a pain in the ass right now. Like we
Yeah.
love you, but you're a pain in the ass right now." And mom would never want you doing any of this.
Mm-hmm. Were you
But
still in contact with her when she was over?
yeah, so she was there. I guess it was like 2 months, and then my grandma actually ended up getting a lot better, and my mom like helped her through it. She had osteoporosis and like diabetes, and was just dealing with like a lot of complications, renal failure, all of that, and then just like the Mexico healthcare system isn't that great.
Yeah. Sure.
So she was like helping her get through it. So I was like calling her every once in a while, but then like I think I went during spring break to visit. My uncle took me, and I was supposed to bring back my sister with me because my little sister had gone with her. My little sister was 5,
Mm.
which I was kind of upset with because I was like, why are you taking her and not me?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not that much younger. I guess I'm 12, whatever, you know, like
Yeah.
I wanted
Sure.
to go. So I go to Mexico, have a blast, you know. That's the first time I'm there with like my mom and my grandma. And then I bring back my sister with me, and my mom's supposed to join us like later on, and she never gets there. And then like 2 days later, which felt like forever because it was 2 days of just like wondering, like, all right,
Yeah. Where's your mom?
like where is she? Like, is she somewhere in the border?
Yeah.
I just hope she crossed. I hope she didn't drown. I hope she's okay, you know? But yeah, basically later on they call and they're like, I'm in a detention center. I don't exactly know where I am. I'm asking them just to deport me, but they refuse to deport me, so I'm not sure what's going on. But long story short, she ends up just like staying in the detention center for like another 2.5 months when we can finally get a lawyer who will get her out, and she stays here. And just like throughout my childhood, like I had like courts and lawyers, and I was always dealing with that stuff. So that's kind of like how I grew up.
Yeah.
Um,
Quickly. I'm
yeah,
assuming.
just
Yeah.
quickly. Yeah, at 12 years old, I was like kind of assuming the role of like a mom. And then when my sister was back, I was like, just, she was like crying every single night, like asking for my mom. And I was like, gosh,
You
like,
can't. How do you explain that? I suppose like a
yeah.
kid. Yeah.
It's like how I don't. I felt so. I don't know, like hopeless. Like I was like that. That feeling of impotence has always stayed with me. I was like the feeling that I can't do anything
Mm-hmm.
really bothers me, which I think is what motivates me to go into medicine because I think if like once I'm educated and know and are skilled enough, like I will be in that spot where I can actually help. You know, like that feeling of impotence won't be there anymore. But that's how I felt every night, just like, and oftentimes I would like end up crying with her, like crying myself to sleep and be like, it's gonna be okay. And then in my mind, I was like, it's not okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. But it was rough. It was a rough time. And eventually, like, my mom came back, but we were still dealing with like courts. And then it seemed like every single time she had a court, something else would come up. Like, for one of them, my grandma ended up passing away, which was very sad because my mom couldn't go.
Mm-hmm.
She just kind of like had to stay with us and not leave.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. No.
yeah,
I can't imagine how. Like especially like working towards something and then it just happens. As far as Yeah, no, that's a lot. No, I didn't know any of that, honestly.
Yeah.
So
That's why I was like, do you want the filtered version or do you want the unfiltered
no, I mean
version?
I think it's very like I can only see as an outsider like some of the things like not having felt it, but trying to understand that ability just to keep pushing forward and wanting to make a change when you're older, especially at 12. Just the developmental, you're developing. You know, you weren't supposed to have all those responsibilities or the thoughts, and but I mean, like you said, if it made you the person who you are, yeah, no, I mean, it's wild, definitely, it's wild. But just going back into that time, as far as like, so you're 12, you're going through court process, it's a lot. You're realizing how the world is just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And you're working with your family. Do you still love like school? Did you know you wanted to be a doctor at that time, or
No, I didn't. But
you knew you wanted to do something? I suppose, like you wanted a voice. Like,
yeah, oddly enough, I ended up doing like extremely well those years when my mom was gone. It's like I devoted all my energy into sports and academics, and just I didn't want to be a burden on my family. Like I wanted them to be proud and not have to worry about me because we had way too many issues already, you know. So I developed a love for like writing and journaling also, like just kind of like putting my emotions into that, and then just learning all the time. And maybe that's when I fell in love with it. Like I had an appreciation for it before.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. So fall in love with medicine school or what?
With I think everything with school. Yeah, mostly school. Like that's when I knew I was like fully capable of it. I was like, I know I like this. Like I want to pursue, I don't know what, but I was like something in this, you know. And then there was the feelings of like my grandma being so sick, and that's kind of like where all it stems from her, you know. It's like from her like having osteoporosis, and then it complicating so much to where my mom has to leave. So yeah, it was kind of like a little grain of salt just like there, you know. But I didn't know I fully wanted to go into medicine until I was like 17, and I was working at a nursing home, and I was like, okay.
Wait, did you graduate? Are you a graduate at that time, or?
No, I wasn't.
Okay,
I was a senior actually.
Okay.
And my dad always said like, you're not gonna work anywhere unless it's gonna like, which I find it weird because a lot of like families are always like, you need to work to make a living, you know, like work to buy your own things. And my dad was always like, no, you focus on your school, and then if you do want to get a job, it needs to benefit whatever you're gonna go into school for.
Were your brothers already in college at that time, like 17-ish?
Yeah, so at that time, yeah, they're both in ACC actually, which was, sometimes I'm like, do y'all realize how big of a miracle that is? Like just for it to like happen the way it did, because like,
so ACC, Austin Community College.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
Austin Community College, and they, I mean, up until I think my brother was a senior, the oldest one was a senior, and the counselor asked him like, what are you gonna do with your life? And he was like, what can I do with my life?
Yeah.
I can't, you know, like even if they got the highest degree that there is, they weren't gonna be able to use it. So it just kind of happened to be that during those years, the whole DACA situation was happening, and it was like hope. Like that was the first time that they saw their future becoming something else besides like a construction worker, which is what my dad is, you know? Which there's nothing wrong with it. Like my dad's amazing. I think he does a job that not many people can do, you know?
1,000%. But it's definitely different when you're forced into these jobs just because of necessity, like putting food on the table for your family, as opposed to, you know, like liking. Because I mean, manual labor jobs, when I've done them, you get something out of your contributing, but man, I mean, of course, you know. But so I mean, there's not really a word choice, and I've been trying to search for it because I know you're too humble. But I know that you were valedictorian in high school, and like you did everything. So you were coming out. You also like juggling and all those different, like juggling the nursing home job and stuff like that. So why did the nursing home job? Just cause, or you wanted to get closer?
I wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to see if it was for me. And after the first day, just after cleaning up.
That's a lot. CNA and stuff. Yeah.
I was like, after cleaning up after a couple of residents, I was like, all right, I got the stomach.
Yeah,
like,
it's a lot. Yeah, for sure.
You know, and then I just like fell in love with. It sounds a little weird, but like the dying process in a way, like sounds creepy of me, but what I mean by it is like just being there for them, you know.
They
like,
need some. Yeah, they need
yeah,
someone.
and I always thought dying was like very much like sad and like horrible, you know. But I had so many encounters where my residents would be like, "Don't be sad." Like they would tell me, they're like, "Don't be sad. Like I've had a great life. Like this is part of the process. It's a cycle. This is normal. Like I am happy to be 95 and passing away. Like I am happy with where I am." And that like kind of changed my outlook on life. I was like, that's goals right there.
Yeah, honestly,
you know?
do
like,
something.
Yeah, it's like do something and do it so well that when you're 95, wherever you are, hopefully not in a nursing home.
Yeah.
But wherever
well, they got to meet
are,
you, so yeah, no, that's cool.
I was like, I hope I could shed like a little bit of light to them. Like I found myself like combing their hair a little bit extra, or like just like doing silly
treating them
things.
human, honestly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of individuals, I feel once they reach a point in their life, it's hit or miss if they have that. You know, it's often forgotten. And
yeah.
No, that's
Sometimes
awesome.
you just gotta dance for them.
For sure. Yeah.
When they're down and they're remembering their family and their past ones, you just gotta bust out a silly ass move and be like, "It's okay, let's dance it out."
Yeah, I've seen you dance too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's what I do when I'm sad. I'm like, bust it out, like just feel it, you know, in your bones.
Celebrate. That's awesome.
Celebrate whatever you can find.
Okay, so then how long did you do that? A year or just a little bit? Like, so you didn't graduate. You didn't do that job once you graduated, I guess.
I did, actually.
Oh, okay.
I did it my freshman year of college also, and my sophomore year.
Wow, okay, so you really went with that. Okay.
I did.
That's wild.
I loved my residents, and I got to see a lot of them.
And so when you said that you did it because you were kind of searching, see if you had the stomach for it, I'm taking it as medicine. So did you have any role models, anyone in your life that you knew that did medicine, or did you know what medicine was, or?
No.
Yeah.
No, I was. I don't know. Sometimes I think about it. I was like, wow, you were so, like, just not informed.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of like a dream, and I felt like now I feel like, oh shoot, like you were shooting in the dark here.
For
like
sure.
you had there is like no reason why I should have ended up here, and I did somehow. You know, like that. I just kind of started with like the nursing home and my efforts, and then after that I ran into like the JAMP program, and I remember that day. Like I remember going to. It was like one of my classes, and I saw the flyer on the wall, and I was like, huh, this looks interesting. Like, what is this, you know? So the JAM program's basically a program.
Wait, real quick, before we do that. So you're at college. You went close by. You went to...
Yes, I went to UT Austin.
Okay, great school, top tier.
Great
for
school.
sure. Was that your top choice? Was that, like, you wanted to go there?
No.
Okay. What do you want?
I will say I always said I wouldn't want to go to UT Austin. Growing up, I was like, oh, I want to go to a different state. Like, I want to move.
Have you been outside Texas?
No, I haven't.
Okay, wild. Okay, yeah.
So I was like, I remember myself saying, I want to move. I want to be somewhere else. And then because of family and us still going through, like, we weren't going through courts anymore when I was a senior in high school. But I didn't feel like
trauma,
I was ready.
Right?
Yeah, like there was so much trauma there. There was so much hurt and just a lot of stuff to get through. Like, part of it was like forgiving each other, you know, like forgiving my mom for leaving, because even as like irrational as it sounds sometimes, because I'm like, well, she loved her mom, you know, but there's still a part of like me as a child, a 12-year-old, that felt very abandoned.
For sure. No,
so it's like forgiving her for that, forgiving my dad later on for like thinking that he mentioned a couple times that if my mom was supported, he would like leave also. You know, so there's like a lot of just
make sure like like you realize they're human, I suppose, and like you had to grow up, and that's something that I think a lot of kids see later on. Like once they're already adults, and having to process that at 12, that's a lot. No, definitely.
It's like your hero lost its cape.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. And you have to help them, right?
Yeah.
And it's still, I think you just evolve that relationship and like work with them and help them, and which you did, right? Like you grew up, so. No, that's awesome. Not awesome. That's the wrong word.
Yeah.
You know, but
I mean, now it's awesome, you know, like going.
yeah, no, I've seen your
Yeah.
family. They're great.
Because
Yeah.
we're great and we're so strong and we tell each other everything. Like when I'm upset, I'm like, I am upset at you. You know, like we are very, very close. But the reason we're so close is because we know that it can be taken away at any moment. So we always make the best out of the time that we have. We're very loving. We're an amazing family.
Agreed.
Honestly,
No, I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's where it stems from. All the love, all the caring, being so affectionate with each other.
Is that why you stayed? Like close by?
Yeah.
Like you wanna? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I stayed. I mean, they offered a full scholarship also.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, but
you know,
yeah.
it's like, but
honestly, you could have got that at a lot of different schools. Like I'm just saying, but I understand that. Okay, so then was leaving scary? I guess. So you commuted right for a bit, or what?
So I was at the dorm the first year at UT Austin, and then second year and third year I was living with a friend in Austin, and then the last year I ended up commuting, but it was kind of hard to leave. I was a little bit homesick, but I mean they were right there. Like,
yeah, did you go see them a lot? Or?
Yeah, I would go like every single weekend,
Gotcha.
you know. So I still had like the family dinners, the family parties, like everything, and that's what I wanted. Like staying at UT Austin. That's the decision I had made. I was like, I need time. My family needs time to just kind of like come together, forgive each other, have the hard conversations, you know, and I need to be there for them. And I didn't feel like I was making any sort of sacrifice for my career because UT Austin is amazing, you know. So I was like, it's a win-win. It's not where I wanted to be, ideally, but it's a win for everybody, and this is the best for my family and for me.
Do you still feel that, like, want to leave Texas, want to, like, fly and, like, see the world type thing, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're still young. We still got time. Yeah.
I think,
all these things, for sure.
I don't know. Right now I'm thinking I want to leave for residency. I definitely want to go to a different state.
Just go see something.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's also because it's a little scary to me, you know? Like, UT Southwestern was scary to me. Well, there you go. Now I said the school.
There's a lot of schools in Dallas that maybe, I don't know.
That maybe a little bit scared because they're a top tier institution.
Yeah, so if or not you went to that school, okay, but we'll get there. But more so, you're going into Austin. Are you scared, I guess? Like, it's I mean, it's not high school anymore. Is it, like, did you still feel capable, I suppose? Like, seeing your brothers go through ACC, seeing people that you know and care about, like, I guess, especially like living in dorms, I feel like you'd be surrounded by just people that are just all different walks of life. Did you fit in? Did you feel like you fit in, or?
No.
I guess who does fit in?
No, I don't think I've ever felt like I fully fit in anywhere. I kind of just kept my head down.
But did you feel capable? Like, were you ready for college?
I think I discovered I was capable. The first semester, I did not. I think I was like trying to do too much. I was working still 30 hours every single week at the nursing home and trying to balance everything. And eventually I was like, I need to put down a little bit of the hours at the nursing home, and I need to focus.
Hello? Okay, we're back.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, yeah, no, I'll merge it too. So, like, right here, you were saying, I think in high school, this is what you get when we are doing this from my computer room, dog. Like, I don't know. But there was a small cut, and we're just going to get back to
Super
it.
underground stuff, you know?
Yeah, straight from the undergrad. This is the revolution, honestly, that's what I'm seeing it as.
Sometimes it feels like it.
Yeah, that's what, if you're listening, President Obama, just saying. This is, you're hearing straight from... I got nothing else. That was embarrassing on my part. But yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so going right back into it. You're in undergrad. You just now feel capable in your first semester, or why?
After my first semester.
Okay.
Because the first semester was scary, and I felt like my counselor just kind of sucked me into a lot of classes that I didn't really know anything about. It was like, I don't know. I don't even know where the biology came from.
Yeah, what was your major coming in?
It was biology coming in, and I mean, I came in with so many like college credits already,
for sure.
But I don't even know who decided biology. I think maybe I did based on the fact that I knew that I liked something in medicine. I didn't know exactly what, so I was like, okay, some science, and biology biology kind of just fit because it had a lot of the pre-requirements for everything. But later on, that ends up making it a lot easier for me to go to the pre-med track. So,
but you weren't exactly pre-med, like
no.
going, yeah, because there's definitely a type of like high schoolers that are pre-med, they know everything. Yeah, okay. So you went through your whole first semester kind of like that, or okay?
Yeah, so I'm kind of just doing the basics, taking calculus and biology.
And what made you burn out as far as, because you said you were doing 30 hours working?
Yeah,
doing this
I was
stuff.
working 30 hours at the nursing home, and I just like my grades weren't where I wanted them to be. I got B's, and Ofelia didn't get B's.
Was that your first B?
Yeah, it was my first B, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
You know, like coming from high school, making all A's.
I know, same.
And yeah, like I couldn't remember the last time I had made a B. And then I get into UT and I'm making a B, and I'm like, this is not where I want to be. This is not, I know I can do more than this. So I end up talking to my manager. She switches me over to like the night shift, which is a little creepy. But yeah, so I'm like in charge of like 12 residents at night, and they're like 12-hour shifts, but at least at night I can study, you know? So I'm like repurposing it to where I can do both things, but now I'm like studying at night and I'm still taking care of them. But now I'm like sitting in a corner so that nobody sneaks up on me and tries to strangle me.
Yeah, it's real haunted house type stuff. Yeah, okay.
That definitely happens at nursing homes, especially when you're like dealing with memory care people, you know?
For sure.
So it was some good times.
That's smart. Sit in the corner. Yeah, I don't like Italian restaurants, stuff like that. Like the moms for me, they do the same thing. I can't. I have to look at all the different open. Yeah. Okay, so and then you found a way. That's awesome. So you managed it. And did you keep? I guess so. Now I guess Jamp comes in at this point, or is that later?
So that's that's going into sophomore year when I see the flyer, and I decide I'm gonna apply for it, and then
why? So at that point, were you pre-med, or just kind of a thing?
At that point I was pre-med. I was like, let's do it. Like, heck, like, yeah.
Because of the nursing home stuff, or just kind of everything?
Yeah, the nursing home, everything really, grandma, like just like my grandma, my upbringings, everything kind of felt like it led up to like me applying to med school and wanting to be a doctor and being there for people all the time. So I ended up applying for it, which that was even hard. Like, I've gotten better about telling my story, but even writing to Jamp and being like, this is my story, and being very, very vulnerable was hard for me, because I was like, why do you get to know my story? It's like, that's like the most prized possession I have, you know? Like, if we have one thing, it's our stories and our perspective of life. So I remember writing a crappy essay, just super superficial, you know? My roommate reads it, which obviously, like, she knows my story because we've been through a lot by now. And she's like, this is crap. She's like, it's good, but not for you. Like, you have so much more to say. And I remember sitting in my closet and just, like, crying and writing and remembering everything that I had lived. And I was like, shit, it still hurts.
Yeah, no. That is so...
you know?
I had an essay, same exact process that, like, the counselor, like, didn't want to... I don't want to do this one. Like, I don't. It's too much. Like, I think that they're going to see, like... It also it's me. It's my personal thing. Like, I can't imagine some just... I don't even know how they do it, I'll be honest. Like, in my head, it's just, like, one random person who's reading their thing. It's like, they don't know me. Like, they won't ever know me. But they're just, like, trying to see. Like, I'm just begging to let them in the school. And I never understood it. And I totally... It's just, no, I totally understand what you're saying. And I still, like, even now, like, the essay that I put forth, it was very personal. And, like, it very much, like, I can imagine... No, I could definitely feel as far as, like, wanting to share that with other people.
Sometimes, like, why is the process that way? Even, like, applying into med school, like, our personal statements, I'm, like, pretty sure most people's personal statements do not sound like mine.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Like, mine is a little too personal sometimes. I'm like...
And they want that, right? They kind of push that. But also, like, it's almost weird because you're saying this on a podcast that we've had this... I've had this idea for... We've had this whole thing. We talked about it, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, for a long time, I feel... I guess it's easy to feel like what do we have to say? Like, what is our story? I feel like there's a lot of people that could have a similar story, but after talking to you guys, like there isn't. Like there wasn't a person in your life that was in medicine. There wasn't someone that looked like you that did it. And you're not saying you're a trailblazer, but you're definitely a trailblazer. Like you're doing things that no one in your family has done, or no one that just a lot of people have done, Ofelia. And yeah. So I thank you so much for coming and tell your story about that, which you're not done. So I'm just gonna go right back into that. So you did JAMP and so wait, you read a personal statement for JAMP or interview?
I did.
It's like a whole thing, right?
Yeah, it was basically like applying to med school.
And so what is JAMP? I guess you were telling it earlier.
So JAMP is a Joint Admissions Medical Program, and the love of my life, honestly. I remember getting accepted into JAMP on Valentine's Day, and making the joke of like, you don't need a guy, you just need JAMP, that's it. But basically this program is for underrepresented students who have stories kind of like mine, or who've been through a lot, you know, and they need that extra, just kind of like hand. That's how I always felt. I felt like they were holding my hand a little bit, because I didn't know what the MCAT was.
Me neither, yeah,
right?
no clue. Up until like junior year, I think, like almost a year before to say. Like,
same, and some people come into college
prepped,
knowing what the MCAT is, and they start studying so much far in advance. They rearrange their schedule to make it the perfect MCAT study time. And I didn't know anything about it, you know, like even how it worked. I didn't know what med schools were out there. So JAMP provided all of that for me. Like they provided me with a network,
a chance, honestly.
Yeah.
Like when you hear, and I like you personally, and like these counselors that would be like, nah, you don't want to do that, or maybe I don't know how to do that. Like you just don't have that type of information ready if you don't have like a parent that's a doctor, or a cousin that's a doctor, or something like that. When you're the first person doing it, it's amazing how little you do know. So I guess JAMP provided that for you.
Yeah. And they provided us like internships where we could shadow doctors, which, I mean, wasn't a huge, like, it wasn't out there for me before that.
Sure.
It's like, or I didn't even know people did that.
Yeah.
So coming in, and the first internship, I was at Baylor College of Medicine, and they have me shadowing a pediatric neurologist. And it just blows my mind. Like, it was so emotionally hard for some, like it was a very hard month, because, and he ends up later on, like my mentor ends up emailing me, and he's like, I am sorry you had to be here for this month. Like this month has been the highest amount of mortalities that we've had in the past few years, and you were here for it. So I'm sorry that you had to see all that, but I was thankful for it, because after that experience, I was like, okay, I think I'm getting a little too comfortable with the elderly population, and I need to see children now. So I ended up quitting my job at the nursing home, saying goodbye to all my residents, and after that, I got a job working for speech pathology, and I was like administration there. So we got to work with a lot of autistic kids, and just the goal was to work with kids, really.
So, personally, I know that you had the Spanish major at that time. Was that around that time, or?
So that is later on. That is my junior year, actually, when I realized I'm not doing enough. Okay. Because Ofelia, for some reason, always feels like she's not doing enough. Okay. So
I just don't want to reach. I just like, as far as pathology and speech, did you see it? Did you make that connection of how powerful it was, of like how you felt growing up not knowing the language, or just like how important the communication was, or was it just kind of wanting to see kids at the time?
I think it was both. I knew after shadowing, I knew that I wanted to work with kids. I just didn't know in what sort of setting. And then, I mean, I had this other major where we're learning linguistics. I love linguistics, just like the different cultures also that there is. And there's all of a sudden a job opening, and I'm like, this is perfect. Like, this is absolutely perfect. This is what I need. And I apply to it, and I get the job like on the spot, and she's like, yes, like come join us. And I'm like, whoa, did you like me or do you just really need the help? Like I'm kind of scared at this point. But
And that was your second year, or like?
that was my third year actually.
Okay, right, because after your Baylor internship.
Yeah, it was after my Baylor internship, and
so did you like it? Did you just?
I loved it. It was different because since I was more on the administration side, well, I got to greet all the little kids, and that was great. They would like come and put their boogers on my window, and I was just like, "Y'all are great, guys." So let me clean that up.
So
But yeah, they're amazing, and just like I got to learn a lot about the autistic community, also like different things like Halloween as an autistic kid, like. Just different things
it's a
like
lot,
that.
right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a difficult thing to comprehend. Just regular, honestly.
Yeah,
There's
it's like how you should treat them. Oftentimes we got a lot of families that they just kind of needed a break sometimes, and coming to our office was that break they needed. So I was happy to provide that for them. But on the backside of it, I was dealing with insurance companies like all the time, and I was like, oh, y'all are so annoying, like. It was so annoying to me seeing how much improvement these kids were doing with their speech pathologists, and then the insurance companies refusing to pay for it. And so there I was every single day calling them like, nope, you need to pay for this. And they're like, well, according to code, blah, blah, blah. And I was well, according to this, I'm going to send you all the paperwork and it will get paid.
Yeah, I mean, you saw behind the scene. I think that is like a big part of medicine. Like once you just go a little bit in, you see just the not so pretty sides, I suppose, and like the infrastructure is there, and it's just complicated. And I mean, that's a whole different. Like we can have that. We can talk for hours on that. But basically, you don't see that as a kid, right? Especially not being around any type of doctors or any type of anything like that. You just kind of see them as superheroes. They heal people. It's cool. Yeah. And then you see the process, and it's a lot. There's a lot to treat a lot of people. But so you did that. Saw the side. Did you like that as far as like seeing what goes into building that infrastructure, as opposed to not just working with residents as you did with the nursing home?
I will say it kind of fortified, and it showed to me that I still wanted to go into the medical field, because after talking to like a few people, they're like, no, that's like the worst part of it. The administration part is the worst part of it. And I was like, oh, well, I can handle it. Like I've worked for I ended up working there for like 2 years. And I was like, okay, like I am okay. All the negative parts that people would tell me about medicine, you have to deal with people who are dying. You have to deal with the administration side of it. You have to deal with the long hours. I was like, I'm fine with it.
No, you've done it all.
I was like, I am okay with that. Like the worst parts don't sound so bad because the good parts outweigh it. To me, like the people and everything that we were doing for them always ended up winning. So I didn't mind the long hours, the hours on the phone with the insurance companies, just like fighting with them, because it was all worth it in the end. So I was like, okay, this is for sure what I want to do. I was like, got it. Like, I heard you loud and clear. Whoever's talking to me, I hear you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And then at that point, did you know what kind of physician you wanted to be, or you just wanted to do medicine? Like, you knew it was going to be something medicine?
I don't know yet, actually.
You still don't know?
I still don't know.
Yeah, no, same.
I always want to say, I'm thinking OBGYN, because I love women and their rights, and it's a nice mixture of like clinic and surgery. I also like emergency medicine, but I currently don't know.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I was like, one thing is sure is I want to be a doctor, but after that, I'm
That's
not
the important
sure.
part, honestly, as long as we get that down. But yeah, okay. So did you do that for the rest of your career, like in college, or?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
And then JAMP, how they do it, I guess you could talk a little bit more. But as far as I understand, you kind of, like, you have to go to med school right after you graduate, and you kind of did the interviews and stuff like that. You came here, right, for another internship?
Yes,
prior?
I did.
So somewhere in Dallas, probably rhymes with Southwestern. And then that was, how'd you like that? Was it neurology again, or something else?
No, it was actually PM&R.
Which is?
And, what is it? Physical and
rehabilitation.
Rehab, yeah.
But there's an
rehab.
N or something. But yeah, they
physical medicine and rehab.
Yes,
something
okay.
like that.
So then, who would you work with there?
So I ended up working with people who just kind of needed like steroid shots, but the whole time I was just translating, which was kind of wild and kind of funny because like you're not necessarily supposed to be translating all the time.
For sure, it
you
just
know?
happens though.
But
like,
it just happens, like.
And they just feel like I've definitely seen. I mean, so I'm Robert again. I don't know if I said that, but I don't speak Spanish, and the amount of times like they see I look very Mexican, like I'm brown. My name's Trevino. And they're like, "Oh, you don't speak Spanish." Their face drops. Like little old ladies, they drop. Like, and I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I want to so hard, but I'm trying." And but like, I'll go on like Google Translate or call the translator, of course, whatever it is, depending on what environment. But it's definitely that communication just means so much to them. They just feel so much more at ease. But so you did that. So yeah, in Dallas, I guess it just happens to like I think Parkland sees something like 80% of like they speak Spanish or they only speak Spanish, something like that. So, you hadn't done that before, I guess, or was this the first time?
I mean, I did, like, growing up basically all my life,
with
my parents. But just, like, I always considered Dallas, maybe it's because my parents always told me, like, oh, no, everybody in Dallas son güeros, like, they're all, like, you're not going to find a community there. Your population's going to be mostly, like, Caucasian, like, that's it. So I always wanted to make it a point that wherever I train or the population I am training with is the population that I'm going to want to work with in the future, So I didn't think there was a need for, like, Spanish-speaking, medical students, here. And then I do my internship here, and I'm like, whoa, why are y'all all
It's like
Hispanic,
a superpower, for sure.
Like, my whole population was Hispanic, and it was great. Like, I was like, there's a need here. And that's when I started really considering Dallas. I was like, okay, it's 4 hours. It's not horrible. It's going to allow me to become more independent.
Oh, and JAMP also, they made you go to school in Texas, right? That's how the program. So that was the thing. So you couldn't fly yet.
So I couldn't fly yet. But this was a little bit of flying, I would say.
Yeah, 4 hours, right?
Yeah, just like being away and finally fully on my own, not seeing my parents as often. Yeah. So it was a nice challenge, I think. And the school like made my stomach turn a little bit, just from like hearing what they're about, the
crazy,
atmosphere, and I was like, ooh, like I feel intimidated, a little bit. So I wanted it.
So you've always been rising to the challenge, I guess. Like it doesn't scare you at all, or
it scares me, but it's like. When I'm scared is when I know it's worth it.
Interesting. That's it's very brave, honestly.
It's weird.
I don't know if I'm like that. I think it's more.
I don't know.
Again, I guess it goes back to everything. Like, you never, as a kid, you always rose to the challenge. It was something that was worth it. School was hard, and you couldn't speak English, and you got good at it. And here you are, and you got in good in med school. You're gonna be a great physician. Whole thing. We're getting ahead of each other, but I know you will be. But. I'm so happy that you ended up here, just personally, as I ended up here as well. And so you go into UT Southwestern. I mean, anything else? Your 4th year, I guess. You knew when did they tell you you're gonna go to like a specific school?
So I found out my last semester at UT Austin because I actually ended up taking the MCAT, not doing well like at all. I will say. Junior year was the hardest, one of the hardest years of my life, just because I turned 21. Most people look forward to drinking. Ofelia didn't look forward to that. I looked forward to legalizing my parents. At 21, I can do that. And I was like, I was born for this, like back in 1995, like they made me for this, which is sometimes sad because for a long time, I felt like one of my only purposes was that, But I get there to being 21, and I'm like, we're finally going to do it. It's going to be great. This is going to be past me. I'm going to put it behind me, all my trauma and whatever. And then they're like, you can't legalize your mom. You may never be able to. And I was like, cool, you just grabbed my heart and threw it out the window.
Because she left them? Or?
Yeah, because she was in a detention center. And then my dad, we're in the process for him right now, but
it's a lot.
that was a lot too because just like refiling his paperwork, and then coming to terms with like my mom not being able to just like legalize her. And then I would go on, well, that was later on. But yeah, so that was a hard year. And then I ended up having to retake the MCAT, which again is
Terrifying, right?
terrifying.
Yeah.
Challenges me to
That was the worst.
I was like, whoa, like everything I want
It's based off of this.
depends on this,
Yeah.
you know, like every single thing I want.
Yeah.
And somehow magically I get through it, and then I know I'm in. Like, I know I'm in a med school because that's what JAMP does. Like, they guarantee, as long as you meet the requirements and you pass the MCAT and everything, you're guaranteed a spot. I just didn't know where.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started, like, interviewing at all 9 schools. A couple of Texas schools treat me like an experiment. They're like, oh, so this is when everything's blowing up about detention centers, because 10 years later, people realize that detention centers are a thing, right? So they're like, wow, like, I see in your story that your mom was in a detention center. Like, how do you feel about them? And I'm like, I know. I totally blow up on this interviewer, and I'm like, I know you only found out about this like 2 days ago, but this is my life. Like, I have been living with it for the past 10 years, so I don't feel comfortable talking about this with you, and this should not be a question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they almost see it as like, oh, like how do you react to current news and stuff like that, and it's more like this is a life, like a trauma that you're gonna face it can face generations. I feel, and like even now, that's again a different story of like the ongoing stuff that's happening, and it's disgusting, honestly, and inhumane. But when you're interviewing, how do you feel you got through that? I suppose. Because you were a good interviewer, right? Like,
yeah, I think
You liked it, or were you nervous?
I reflected on it after. The way I didn't like, I felt like he had won that day. The day that he asked me that, and I kind of blew up a little bit on him. I wasn't disrespectful, but I did, he threw me off, you know? Like, I was like, I won't say I was super calm because I was also nervous, but he threw me off my game, and that really bothered me because, yeah, I just kind of felt like he won. And then after that, I was like, not again. Like, I'm going to be composed. I'm going to answer him the way he needs to hear it. And
that is a big point. They want to hear specific.
They want to hear specific things, and I was like, all right, I'm going to give it to you. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice my beliefs because I refuse to do that. But I'm also not going to come off in a way where they can be like, well, that little Mexican girl just lost her cool, you know? Like, we don't know what kind of doctor she's going to be because she can't control herself. Like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of ever saying that about me.
They really, like, I mean, again, I don't know, but it seems like they pick at traumas and, like, just to see how you feel and stuff like that, which... It's very macro thinking if that's what they're thinking, like physicians and stuff, because med school is very different than that. But no, okay, that sounds like a lot. And then you interviewed at Southwestern, I think like the very last one.
That was my very, very last interview.
But also, I think it was the last Southwestern interview.
It was.
And I know that because that was also my that was my last one. Which that's why I thought Southwestern was a dream. But that's dope.
We end up being at the same interview, and later on, like months later,
financial
I'm like,
aid thing.
oh my god, I remember you when you're telling me a little bit about your story, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've heard this, and I'm like having flashbacks, and I'm like, I remember you, Robert.
Because the three of us trying to financial aid, trying to figure out how to pay like, whatever it is. I don't even know how much the loans are at this point, but that's wild. Yeah, and again, so glad you chose. Great choice. But I also know. So wait, so you wanted to go, was this your top choice?
It wasn't.
God, you're really finding a habit with that.
It wasn't my first choice, and everybody always laughs at me for it, but it wasn't. And the reason for that was because I actually ended up ranking another Houston school higher. But my brother lived in Houston.
Yeah,
and
again, family.
I love my brother, you know, like second dad right there. Once again. So I was like, okay, like I would like to be there with him. I felt like there was a community there, just like there's a community here, you know. But my brother kind of threw me to the top, threw that one to the top a little more, and then Southwestern was my number 2, and I never thought I would get it. Like, I honestly didn't. Like, my score still wasn't as competitive as everybody else's.
Same. No, when I told my MCAT, because I like to just say my MCAT score, whatever, and then when I told my MCAT score to the like a group of our peers or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I got a like 5.0s, whatever, low.
Yeah.
I get that's so awkward now because now I don't know if I'm saying it right now. But anyways, and then it got dead quiet, and then one person was like, wow, you must have been like the perfect medical school candidate then. I was like, okay, man. Like, it must have been that low.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You know him too. And he's like one of our good friends. But I'll tell you later. I'll tell you our thing. Anyway, then,
okay.
Not that it's negative. I think it's so funny. But I think it was a thing. But, yeah, no, totally.
But that's part of the imposter syndrome too, that we.
But also, when you know that the MCAT's the thing, like, I guess 5 months before you have to take it, you know, and it's also, hey, this test is going to determine the rest of your life. That was, like, I think that was my rock bottom. Just I was so stressed.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It got to me. And also, like, I didn't apply to some schools just because I didn't think I was going to get in my first time, and like I wanted. It was a whole thing, you know. That imposter syndrome is definitely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you still have that, or does it go away day by day, or?
I think it starts going away, and especially after the first semester and after seeing that
Of med school, right?
Yeah.
You're in Southwestern.
Now that I'm in Southwestern, and after the first semester where I'm like, okay, like I'm getting like my footing now. Like I'm like, okay, I understand the way things work. I'm getting there. I'm starting to do a lot better in my classes. I'm learning how to study.
But can you compare that first semester, like I guess the wake up, because I saw it, right, and I felt it as well.
Yeah.
I guess is it the same jump from UT Austin, like high school to UT Austin, or what? I guess is it different? Is it more, less?
I think it's worse.
Yeah.
I think the jump was, oftentimes I found myself wondering, like, was this challenge a little too big?
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah.
Like, me going from Lehman High School, a school where most people end up pregnant, dead, or, you know, like in gangs, to UT Austin, that was a challenge. But this was something else, you know? Like, this is like one of the top medical centers.
Yeah, they talk about, like, how they talk about it in our schools. It's like,
like,
and I didn't
we are among geniuses. Like,
I totally agree. Yeah,
we totally are. Like, they memorize the syllabus like crazy. You know,
it's different, I guess. And I don't think it's unique to, I guess, minorities that they feel like that. But I think more so, it's almost like all the time that you kind of feel, what is this? Like, why am I here? And I guess not seeing as a kid a lot of people that look like me that doing it, and also like no family members are doing it. I was like, is it possible? Like, maybe it's just in my genes. Like.
That's the thing though, like changing stuff. Like, I mean, it's not just me, it's you too. Like, our friend group, like we are creating the pathway for other people, which means that there is no pathway in front of us. You know?
Which is why like it's difficult. It's weird to see that in 2020. I think I can't imagine that, but.
It's hard. Like, we're looking at a patch of grass and we're like, where do we go? Like, we don't know what's right. People haven't done it. Some people get to the top and they don't come back and help us out. Like,
I agree. And I think it's very, like, the little things they just don't know. Because I think it's very easy for an individual that has not lived, like, your pathway specifically, right? To be like, okay, like, I get it. Like, okay, we all went to med school. We all worked hard. MCAT was hard for everyone. But it's just like hearing your story and hearing like the little traumas, and you have to think about more than just you. And your life was never just Ofelia. It was your family and your loved ones, and it's tiring, man. It's exhausting. I'm tired just listening to your story, man. But it definitely has made you who you are, and the amount of work and, like I've said it today, the efforts that I've seen through you is wild. It's superhuman, and I can only imagine what that would be like as a physician. But I'm glad that you found the con ganas, I suppose. I don't speak Spanish, so I don't really exactly know, but this desire that has pushed you, and like the first semester was rough. Personally, like, I mean, I got below passing before curves a couple times. Like, it's just, you had a support system with your friends and family, or? Because I feel like we had a good friend group that we kind of pushed each other, but also like we were dying as well. Like, personally, this hurt a lot, and it was difficult to all I wanted is for everyone to succeed, and same with you, right? And just all of our class, and I don't know. I think that it's a lot, but I think it's definitely possible for anyone. The little Ofelia of the world definitely have a chance to be here, and you're living proof of that, Ofelia.
I think the community is what got us through, though. If you
But
if you think back to then,
I think
like,
you would find a community anywhere or build a community. I think that's the type of person you are, and you help nurture. I have grown as a medical student because just knowing you, and grown as a person just because of knowing you, and you kind of have that effect on other people. And I can say that about a lot of people in our peers and just our class in general. I will say that I guess to anyone who's listening that personally med school was a lot tougher than I thought, but we're here, right? And I think that whatever that is, like med school, college, high school, passing high school, going to high school, I know, my grandparents didn't go to high school. It's a lot, but it's definitely possible. So you're going to be a doctor now. It's pretty sad. Like you're about 3 tests away for sure. So we got that going. Is it the same desire you had as a kid that keeps pushing you, or does that desire change? That fire, that passion, that con ganas, whatever that means.
Yeah, I think it evolves. Like, yeah, it's a evolution type of thing, which all the people in evolution be like, you're not, no, you can't have evolution in your lifetime. Whatever, I'm still gonna say, like, it evolves, because when I was like little and thinking about it, or even as a college freshman, I'm telling you, like, I felt like I was shooting in the dark. I didn't know what I was doing. Now I think I know a little bit more of what I'm doing, but at the end of the day, it comes back to the same thing. I want to help people, and I know everybody says that, but it's true. Like, I look forward to the days where I want to meet my patients in clinic and them tell me about their lives. Like, I want to hear about that. I want to be there when they're at their most vulnerable, because I remember being super vulnerable as a kid and just needing somebody to be there for me, and just like, especially with like the Hispanic community, I know how much help they need. And I sometimes, like, when we get like even patients and that I've been there for, it's like I see my mom in them, like I see my mom, my dad, my brothers, like everybody in these people, and that's the way I want to treat them. That's the way I treat them, like I'm treating them like they're my family, because that's what they deserve. Like, they don't deserve to be treated as an experiment, or even to be made felt that way, because I've been there and it doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
So
for sure,
I think it evolves, but at the end of the day, the stem is the same.
That's no, that's awesome. I'm really glad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I had chills. I wanted to go like cure cancer or something. But
please do.
Yeah, no, definitely we need to do it. But so we had just the audience sends all these questions and stuff like that. They're just great.
Yeah.
Just like
this audience is amazing.
They're huge. No, I love my fans.
Yeah.
So this is our first podcast. I'm so glad you guys are listening to this already. Did you have just a couple of last things? You're a wonderful story, Ofelia, and a wonderful friend. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for being my inaugural.
Thank you for bringing me here.
I mean, honestly, like you said, I think that whenever I was a kid, or when you were a kid, it would have been nice to have just feel like this was a little bit easier and possible, and give a little bit more knowledge. And they kind of push us to talk to like middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I think it's just a way to talk to them. Just get it out there, right? Because I think that if you're listening right now, and also just a kid that has a dream or something like that, that it's difficult to see the end goal when you're that young, or when you're going through that trauma and going through those things, and it gets better, right? And you will grow as a person, you will grow stronger, and sitting across from me is someone who's 1,000% living proof of that, and will only grow, and will be a wonderful position one day that I would love to have my family be seen by. And I'll teach them Spanish just so you can practice that skill and stuff like that. It'd be great. But do you have any advice to little Ofelia? I guess like either at 7 years old, 12 years old, whenever she needed to hear it, do you have any advice that just would allow her to keep going?
Yeah, I would say it's still gonna be dark for a couple of years. This is me talking to 12-year-old Ofelia. but it's still gonna be dark for a couple of years. But you're always gonna find the light at the end of the day. Like, just hang on to your family and keep your head down and just push through, because there's better things coming your way. Yeah. It's just weird because sometimes I still feel that way. Still feel like I'm in the darkness, and
I think we always, it's gonna be a minute, but
it's gonna be a while till I do. It's like we're waiting on my dad's case right now.
yeah,
So whenever, I mean, we're starting to think of step and when we want to take it. And for me, it comes back to it's not just your choice, Ofelia. Like, I need to consider when everything's gonna happen with my dad, you know, because I know that's gonna be a hard time for my family once again, and I'm probably gonna need to be there for them. So what I want sometimes isn't necessarily what I'm gonna do. It's not what my family needs. They're still a huge priority, but whatever I need to do, I'm gonna make sure that my career doesn't suffer for it also. So it's a good balance.
it's good balance.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're finding it and you're strong enough to handle that, Ofelia. Yeah. Well, there's light, and you're a living example. And I'm so glad to have known you. I'm so glad that you push me and push all your friends. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No. Sorry. But I think that's about it. Honestly, I feel like I've learned so much about you.
I know. I was like, I might have learned a lot.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Thank you again. Thank you so much for being on here. Again, hello. Thank you so much, Ofelia's mom. Thank you, my mom. Thank you to our friend group. Yeah. If anyone's out there listening, I hope you got something out of it. I know I did personally, so I know you did. And again, just together we'll find the light, I suppose. And thank you for listening to the Ganas podcast.
Woo!
Perfect. Yeah. No. Okay.